Hello. Hello. Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. The PPT visible, na?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Right. Fine. Okay. Now we'll just continue from where we are left in the last class. I think last class we are done with respect to the architecture of microprocessor, and we have discussed the complete architecture of the microprocessor. Later on, the individual components of the microprocessor architecture we have started to discuss. Okay. So under that, the first one was central processing unit. That is what we have discussed, and then we have discussed what was called as the memory and the address. Then we understood what are the different types of the memory and how the memory is going to be looked at. Okay, the memory is going to be looked through what is called as a unique thing which is called as the address. Okay, each memory is going to be identified by a unique number called as the address. Now, which is going to be dealt with. Okay, and this is the diagram that I have explained. Okay, that is how the memory is going to be present. Okay, and then we have ended with what is called the different forms of the memory. Okay, this is what we are discussing. Okay, right. So when it comes to the different forms of the memory, so we have what are called as the read-only memory and the random access memory. So when it comes to read-only memory, okay, we can understand that the ROM is nothing but a one-time memory. Okay, it's a non-volatile. Okay, right. The memory is non-volatile. That is the content that you are going to that has been written in the ROM will not going to be get erased. Okay, whenever the power fluctuation or something wrong is going to happen to your microprocessor. Now you can retrieve from a location, from a ROM location, any information. Okay, and generally the information that you wrote, okay, that has been written in the ROM is going to be decided by the manufacturer. Okay, generally that is what is the case. Okay, and earlier cases where what is called as the ROM was cannot be the program. Okay, so subsequently there are different types of the what is that the ROM has come into picture. Okay, which is what is called the programmable ROM. Okay, wherein you can able to program the RAM. Okay, to the required thing. And then we had what is called as the erasable and programmable RAM. Okay, so by using your erasable and programmable RAM, okay, the programmable ROM, okay, we can able to erase the content of the ROM. Okay, and you can able to rewrite the content. Okay, that is it is possible for the subsequent programming can be done. Okay, then that is programmable ROM, that is PROM. Okay, then we have EPROM. Okay, that is erasable and programmable RAM. Okay, so the term EPROM is used for ROMs that can be erased. And when I say erase, okay, you can generally the erasing is going to be done by passing an ultraviolet light through a quartz window. Okay, on the top of the device. So by which it makes that all the content is going to be discharged. Then subsequently you can able to charge or you can able to program the ROM. Okay, accordingly. So this is called as your EPROM. It is erasable and programmable ROM. Okay. Then the EPROM is by using sending an ultraviolet rays. Then subsequently we have one more called as the electrically erasable and programmable ROM, double EPROM. Okay, wherein rather than using the ultraviolet rays, you are going to send a very high voltage. Okay, we are applying a high voltage. Okay, rather than the ultraviolet rays for the purpose of the erasing the content of the ROM. Okay, now those are the various cases under what is called as the ROM. Okay, then we have what is called as the random access memory. Okay, that is your what is called as the RAM. Okay, right. So it's a temporary storage. Okay, we know that. Okay, RAM refers to a temporary storage of data. Okay, it differs from ROM that it can be read. The information which is present in the RAM can be read and also can be written. Okay, right. And it's a volatile memory. Okay, basically RAM is entails a volatile memory where the content is going to be get erased when the power disruption is going to occur. Okay, so we also call RAM as read-write memory. Okay, R bar W, generally we write like that. Okay, R bar W memory. So that is RBAR-W, the random access memory. Now, generally the RAM is the one, okay, based on the information. Okay, so we are going to have a particular size of the RAM in your the system. Okay, depending upon the specification of the content. Okay, right. So that's about the brief of the different forms of the memory. Okay, then we'll going further. We have what is called as the address. Okay, now address is nothing but, okay, now it's a memory location identifier. Okay, simple. Okay, address is a memory location identifier. Okay, now addresses are the memory locations which are identified by a unique name. Okay, so memory are the addresses are the memory locations identified by a unique name. Now all the peripherals, okay, all the peripherals in our the computer, okay, in the microprocessor is going to be identified with a binary number called an address. And generally these addresses are the one wherein which is going to be present in the address bus. Okay, so address bus, as we told, it is going to be only unidirectional, so it carries the address, okay, of the memory locations. Means to say, if I want to reach to a, or if I want to write something onto the a particular memory location, okay, if this is going to be one particular memory location, now this is having the address, okay, and this address, okay, is going to be sent through the address bus. Okay, I'll check this address. Whenever it is going to matches with any of the location, this will be kept open for the purpose of reading or for the purpose of writing. Okay, now that is how the addresses are going to be used. Okay, now generally when I say the number of address lines of a CPU, okay, determines the capacity to identify different memory location. Okay, that means the address line is going to be important. The total number of address lines is important. If the microprocessor is going to have 4 address line, an example I'm telling, okay, 4 address line, you can able to access generally 2 to the power of n, okay, number of location, okay, 2 power n number of memory location. So n is nothing but the number of address lines. Okay, if you take an example of 4, okay, so 2 to the power of 4, okay, so that means that is 32 number of locations that you can make. But when it comes to what is called as 8085 microprocessor, there will be totally 16 lines are going to be present. Okay, the address are going to be AD0 to AD15. Okay, AD0 to AD15 is the number of lines, number of address lines which are going to be present. Hence, so 16 lines, so 2 to the power of n, that is 2 to the power of 16. So it is 65,536. That means 65,536 memory locations can be addressed. That is, those are the number of memory locations which are going to be there. Therefore, that many number of unique addresses that I need to generate. Okay, so 64K, 64 into 1024. That many number of memory locations are going to be present with respect to 8085 microprocessor. Okay, generally the microprocessor also going to be represented or specified, okay, by using how many number of address lines the microprocessor is having. Okay, right. Then after the address, we have what is called as the ALU, that is arithmetic logic unit. Okay, which we know clearly that it performs the arithmetic operations. Okay, and also what is called as the logical operations. Okay, arithmetic operations, that's your normal arithmetic operation, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication. Along with that, it is also going to be used to carry out the logical operations like OR, and NOT. Okay, these are the basic things that is mentioned here. Subsequently, you can also do NOR. Okay, that is the NOR, NAND. Okay, XOR, XNOR, like that. Okay, so those are the logic commands which we are going to make use. Okay, so it is for both arithmetic and the logical operations. Right, fine. Then moving ahead, so we have what is called as the assembler. Okay, now assembler is maybe it is known to us. Now in case of an assembler, so when we write a program, okay, now as a user I am going to write a program. Okay, generally as a user we are going to write the program in an understandable manner. Okay, that means generally we use English like commands. Okay, we are going to use English like commands in order to write the program. Okay, that is for us to understand. Okay, now will the same the way that we wrote, okay, is going to be still understandable by the system or the microprocessor is important. Okay, now generally we know, so the language which is understandable by the microprocessor, we call it as the machine level language. Okay, right. The the user written languages, okay, so there is assembly level language, okay, that what the user is going to write has to be converted into an understandable language by the microprocessor. That is, the assembly level language has to be converted into what is called as the machine level language, okay. So machine level language, okay. Now this is what is called as, okay, one second please, this is what is called as the case of the assembler, okay, right. Now once again, okay, right, sorry, right. Now, okay, now that is the assembler, okay. The microprocessor understands programs written only in the machine language. Programs written in any language need to be converted into the machine language, okay. A program which translates an assembly level language into the machine level language is called as an assembler, okay. Therefore, assembler is an entity which is required for us to convert from machine level language to, sorry, the assembly level language to the machine level language, okay, right. So that's about the assembler. Then next we have what is called as a data, okay, a very important component. So basically we have two different things in the microprocessor processing. One is called as the data, and other is called as the instructions, okay. So one is called as the data, other is called as the instructions, okay. Now when we say about a data refers to a digital number system, okay. When we say digital number system, so what are the various number systems that we have? What are the various number systems? Which are the various number system do we have? Hello? Hello? The various number system do we have? We have is decimal, binary, hexadecimal, and octal number systems. Okay, right. Now the data refers to a digital number system. Basically, a bit is the smallest unit of data. Okay, so a bit is nothing but the smallest unit of data at the micro level. Okay, right. The data and instructions are represented using the bits. Now, as I told, okay, so we have what is called as two things, which is called as data and the thing but the instructions. Okay, both data and instructions are going to be represented as what is called as binary numbers. Okay, now observe carefully. Data usually refers to a value, whereas the instructions are the codes from form of various functions. Okay, now data is nothing but it is the number on which some operation is going to be carried out. Okay, that means that's just a simple example. Now, if I am going to write a microprocessor programming, one such instruction is going to be something like this. Okay, add A and C. Okay, so this is what is one line of a program. Okay, add AC. Now, this is one entity, and this is going to be another entity. Okay, now in this case, whatever we consider this, okay, so this is nothing but what is called as the instruction. Okay, so the first one, whatever the microprocessor reads is an instruction, followed by what is called as a data. Now, what is that I am trying to say is both of these are going to be represented by using what is called as a machine level language, which is in the form of binary. Now, this will be converted into equivalents of binary. Again, this will be converted into equivalent of binary. Now, for the microprocessor, it will be seeing only the binary number and the binary number. Okay, so it is just similar. Okay, that is 010 111. That's it, simple. Okay. Now the question is how the microprocessor will understand, okay, whether what is that I am reading, whether it is going to be an instruction or whether it is going to be a data. Okay, because all of them are going to be represented in the form of the binary numbers only. Now this is what is important to distinguish between the data and instructions. Okay, that is to distinguish between the data and instruction. The microprocessor relies solely on the order in which, okay, the microprocessor relies solely on the order in which the instruction and data entered into it. Okay, right? Now understand. So now, as I said, okay, now this is going to be, let us say, just an understanding, 0 1 1 0. Okay, and this is 1 1 1 0. Okay, then for C it is going to be, let us say, 0 0 0 1. Okay, now the whole thing, okay, this is what is going to be read by a microprocessor. Now how will it understand whether what is that I am reading, the first one, whether it is a data or whether it is going to be the instruction? Okay, generally the microprocessor always interprets the first bit it fetches as the instruction followed by the data. Okay, that means whatever the first bit, okay, if it is going to be, as it is a 8-bit microprocessor, I have just shown here 4-bit. Okay, so there will be first 8 bits. Okay, whichever the first 8-bit it reads, okay, that 8-bit information it understands that as a instruction followed by whichever it is going to read as the data. Therefore, when we say a data, okay, as I said, data refers to a digital number system. A bit is the smallest unit of a data at the micro level, okay, because we are going to use what is called as the binary number system. The data and instructions are represented using bits. Okay, then data usually refers to a value, whereas the instructions are the coded form of various instructions. So an instruction is a command to the microprocessor to perform a given task. Okay, so the add is nothing but the instruction, which is a command given to the microprocessor to perform a given task on what? Okay, add on what? Okay, add what? Okay, add what? Add A and C. Therefore, the A and C is going to be what is called as a data, and add is nothing but what is called as the instruction. Okay, right. Now this is the case. Then okay, then one second. Okay, right. So going further, the microprocessor always interprets the first bit fetches as the instruction, then followed by the data. Okay, right. Then we'll move on to what is called as the opcode, operand, and mnemonics. Okay, so please, these 3 words. Okay, please let's understand clearly. Opcode, called as operation code, operand, and mnemonics. Okay, right. Now, as we know, the microprocessor processes instruction. Most of the instructions requires data. Okay, what are instructions? Instructions are nothing but the actions performed by the microprocessor. That means add, sub, move, jump. Okay, right? Like this. Okay, so compare, CMP. Okay, SUB, ADD, CMP, MVI. MVI is nothing but move. Okay, I'm just telling the words. Okay, so those are called as the instruction. Now, when I say only instruction also have to be followed by what is called as a data. That means most of the instruction requires data. That means when I say CMP, okay, when I say CMP of what? Okay, that is comparison of what? Okay, so comparison of 2 data that you are going to give. Okay, so comparison between X data and Y data. So this instruction requires what is called as the data for the operation to be completed. Okay, right. Now observe, the data upon which the instruction is operated is known as operand. Okay, so the data upon which the instruction is operated is known as operand. Okay, now what are operands now here? Now in case of this instruction CMP XY, what is the operand? Okay, XY is what is called as the operand. Okay, so XY is called as the operand. CMP is nothing but what is called as the instruction. Okay, right. Now the instruction, now this whole thing is called as instruction. CMP XY is an instruction. Now the instruction has 2 parts. They are mnemonics and operand. Okay, so this is the whole thing is instruction. The instruction has 2 parts. They are mnemonics and operand. Okay, now what do you mean by mnemonics? Okay, mnemonics is the task performed, okay, which is having an English like statement. Okay, right. The word, okay, let's observe the word add, okay, sub, CMP are called as mnemonics. Okay, mnemonics are called as what? Please understand, mnemonics are the English like statement, okay, of the part of the instruction which says what action to be taken. Okay, right, please understand, the mnemonics is the English like statement which represents what action to be taken. Okay, so that is called as the add, sub, and CMP. Okay, right. Then next are the numbers, means the numbers is nothing but the data. The data, those added or subtracted, are called as the operands. Okay, so these two, that is x and y, are nothing but the comparison values. Okay, to be the values to be compared. So those are called as the operands. Okay, therefore we got now operand and mnemonics. Okay, so understand, in the instruction, mnemonics are nothing but the English like statement, and the operation is to be performed on some data. Okay, so that data is called as the operand. Okay, then what do you mean by opcode? Opcode is also called as the operation code. Opcode is called as operation code. Okay, observe the equivalent binary or hexadecimal code of the mnemonics. Okay, so the equivalent binary or hexadecimal code of the mnemonics are called the operation code or opcode. That means we have what is called as add. Okay, now the unique, the equivalent of add in terms of binary or hexadecimal. Okay, so binary is in terms of zeros and one, and if it is hexadecimal, it is going to be 0 to 9 and A to F. Okay, so 0 to 9 and A to F. Okay, 0 to 9 is the number that I am going to use. Okay, right? And if I am taking a letters, okay, it is A to F. Okay, so that is about the hexadecimal. Okay, binary, you know, it is only 0, either 0 or 1. Okay, combinations of 0 or 1. Now the equivalent binary or hexadecimal code of the mnemonics are called as the operation code or the opcodes. Okay, right. Now that is a case of opcode, operand, and mnemonics. Okay, right. Next, now we'll try to understand the two different types of the cycles. Okay, which are called as the fetch cycle and what is called as the read cycle. Okay, right. So fetch cycle is nothing but it is the time period during which the instruction is fetched from the memory and executed when a computer is given instruction in machine level language. Okay, fetch is nothing but retrieving. Okay, fetch is nothing but what is called as retrieving. Okay, so fetch cycle is the time period. It is the time period during which the instruction is fetched, that is retrieved from the memory and executed when a computer is given an instruction in machine level language. Okay, so that is called as a fetch. That is called as the fetch cycle. Okay, right. Now we'll understand what are typically 4 stages of operation. Okay, right. What are the operation that we are going to use here? First is fetch the instruction from the memory. Okay, now in the memory we'll be having the instruction. Now first you have to understand here, simple, one by line we'll discuss. The CPU transfer the contents of the program counter onto the address bus. Then the CPU fetches the instruction from the main memory to the instruction register, which holds the instruction for further processing. Okay, please understand here. What is this? The CPU transfers the contents of the program counter, okay, on the address bus. Okay, first of all, let's understand what is present in the program counter is important. Okay, last class when we are discussed, okay, if you remember, we are discussed in the last class about what is called as the program counter register. Okay, if you observe here, okay, so this is what we are discussed in the last class regarding the program counter register. Okay, right. Now this register, the program counter register, consists of what? This register always holds the memory address of the instruction that will be executed in the next step. Okay, so that is what is very important in case of a program counter register. Therefore, the program counter register holds the address of the next instruction that you are going to carry out. Okay, now accordingly, if you come to this, that is the fetch cycle number 1, the CPU transfers the content of the program counter onto the address bus. Okay, now why I need to send the information to the address bus? Because through the address bus I need to send the address of the location, okay, where I want to, from where I want to fetch the instruction. Okay, so I want to fetch the instruction from so type of the location. So how do I identify that location? To identify that location, I have to send the address of that particular location. So the address of that particular location is going to be sent through the address bus. Okay, so it's going to be sent through the address bus. That is what it is saying here. Okay, So that address where is present, that address is going to be present in the program counter register. Okay, so first observe the program counter register. Observe the program counter register onto the address bus. Then the CPU fetches the instruction from the main memory to the instruction register, which holds the instruction for further processing. Okay. Then once you got the instruction, then from the instruction register, it goes to what is called as instruction decoder. Okay. Now I'll just skipping back. Okay. Right. Now just observe. Yeah. Okay. Right. Now through the address bus, you send the address. So the instruction register. So the instruction register send the information to the instruction decoder. Okay. So the instruction decoder, what it does, I told instruction decoder, right? Now if you observe, the decoder, instruction decoder decodes the instruction from the instruction register and activates the timing and control unit. Okay. Now once we got the instruction register, okay, right. Now it is used for decoding the instruction. That is, the instruction decoder interprets and implements the instruction. Okay, right. Then fetch data from the main memory. That means now you have sent the address from where you need to take out the data or from where you need to fetch the data. So the instruction decoder understood that and it has opened for you to fetch the data. Then the third one, you fetch the data from the main memory. That means you read the address. Okay, now you know the address. You got the address now. You go to the particular location where you are in search of it. Okay, so you got the match of the address here. Something is written here that you are going to read. Okay, so that is what is nothing but fetching the data from the main memory. Okay, so you have fetched the information from the main memory. Then according to the information that you are going to read, okay, the microprocessor accepts the instructions and execute accordingly. Okay, now if whatever that you are read, okay, if it is going to be instruction, you submit, you accept that instruction and carry out the work accordingly. Okay, now these are the four stages of the fetch operation. That means in order to fetch a particular instruction from the memory, first thing is what is the instruction that you are going to do next. Okay, so that content will be present in the program counter register. Okay, so in the program counter register, in the PC register, so that content is going to be present. Okay, now that content you take and pass it on to the address register. So the address register will carry the address of the memory. Then the instruction decoder decodes the addresses and you are going to fetch the data from the main memory and carry out the instruction accordingly. Okay, that's about the case of fetch cycle. Okay, so now that fetch is done. Okay, that is fetch is nothing but the read. Okay, you have got the information. Okay, and at the same time, okay, after doing certain operation, okay, let's say you are doing add A and B. Okay, so add A and B results in some content. Okay, results in some output. Okay, so that output needs to be written. Okay, that output needs to be written into the memory. Okay, so now in order to write something onto the memory, okay, you will be using what is called as write cycle. Okay, so now write cycle is the one that interprets the writing operation. Okay, so write cycle is the one that interprets writing operation. So microprocessor can send data to a specific location to the memory or to an input device. Okay, that means if you want to, after the operation, if you want to store the data to a specific location of the memory, you have to give, let's say, the address. Some letter has been wrote. It has to reach to the particular address. Okay, means so that address you need to write. Now during the writing operation, the microprocessor transfers the content of the program counter to the memory decoder. The microprocessor uses the WR signal for writing into the memory. Okay, that means again you have what is called as an address bus. Okay, so which is having the content to write. Okay, right. Now you are having so many locations. Okay, so assume that this is the area where you wish to write the content. Okay, now this is having some address. Okay, this is having some address which is going to be present. Okay, right. Now you will be knowing where that you are going to write. So this address you are going to send through this address bus. Now you have the address here. You check here. Okay, so it is not correct. Then check one more here. Then it is not going to match. Okay, then check here. Okay, the address of this and the address that you are carrying is going to match. Okay, then this portion is opened for you to execute or open for you to do the operation. So what is the operation that you intend to do? The operation that you intend to do is what is called as write something. So then, so this is open for you to do that operation. Then whatever the information to be read, okay, to be written, that you are going to write into this, okay, into the memory. Similarly, you may write something into the memory, or you may send information to the output device. Okay, maybe onto the CRT you may have to do, or onto the printer you may have to write something information into the microprocessor output devices. Okay, now this is about the concept of write cycle. Okay, then we have one more thing called as important, called as the interrupt. Okay, interrupts. Okay, interrupt is nothing but what? What are interrupts? What do you mean by interrupt? Yeah, tell me, what do you mean by interrupt?
Disturbance.
Huh?
Disturbances.
Disturbances. Okay, interrupt is nothing but the disturbances. Okay, right. Now in microprocessor, okay, during carrying out the operation of the microprocessor, what is the interrupt is to do with is very, very important. Okay, right. Now this is very, very important one. Interrupt is nothing but it's a process of data transfer whereby an external device informs the microprocessor that it is ready for communication and it requires attention. Okay, right. So please understand like this. At all the period of time, okay, at all the period of time, the microprocessor is carrying out its intended operation. Okay, please understand. Okay, at any point of time, the microprocessor is carrying out its intended operation. Okay, means its own task. Okay, so some work has been assigned to the microprocessor, it is doing its own task. Okay, so as long as the microprocessor is allowed to do its own task, interrupt will not come into the picture. Okay, the interrupt comes into picture when, okay, when an external device, okay, other than the microprocessor wants the attention of the microprocessor. Okay, right. So when any external device wants the attention of the microprocessor, then that process, that data transfer is going to happen through the signal called as the interrupt signal. Okay, now that is what the first stanza says. Interrupt is a process of data transfer. Okay, interrupt is a process of data transfer whereby an external device, okay, inform the microprocessor that it is ready for communication. Ready for communication means I want to talk to you. Okay, so some external fellow is requesting the attention of the microprocessor that I want to talk to you. Please open up for the communication. Okay, right. Now the process is initiated by an external device, and the question is interrupt is going to come at a known time? Okay, is the question. The word itself is interrupt. Okay, the word itself is interrupt. That itself is a disturbance. Okay, so disturbance will not going to come at a specific amount of time. Okay, it will not come by saying, okay, I am going to interrupt now at 10 p.m. or 10:10 p.m. or at 10:20 p.m. Okay, or 10:20 a.m. Okay, right. The interrupts are what? The interrupts are going to occur in an asynchronous manner. Okay, that means asynchronous means it can initiate at any time. Okay, at any point, at any point of the processing, some interrupt might occur. Okay, right. Now another way of putting the interrupt is it's a method of drawing the attention of the CPU. CPU is nothing but your microprocessor. Okay, a method of drawing the attention of the microprocessor by an external device only when required is known as the interrupt. Okay, now in order to do that, right, now in order to do that, so the microprocessor will have what are called as the interrupt pins. Okay, there are 40 pin. Okay, now remember, if you take any microprocessor chip, okay, that is in 8085 I'm talking, 8085 is having 40 pin configuration. There are 40 pins, 20 on left side, 20 on the right side. Okay, if you take a chip 8085 microprocessor chip, there are 40 pins are going to be present. Okay, now out of 40 pins, some pins are going to be dedicated. Some pins are dedicated for what? Dedicated for these interrupt operations. Okay, right. Now an interrupt is a signal and causes the CPU to, okay, now it makes the microprocessor to do what? Okay, so number one, The interrupt is a signal which makes the microprocessor to suspend the normal operation. Okay, so without any issue, the microprocessor was doing its normal operation. Okay, so what the interrupt does, first what it does is it suspends it. It wants the microprocessor to suspend the normal operation what it is doing. Okay, right. Then after suspending the normal operation, what it has to do, jump to the other task. What is the other task? The other task is nothing but the task which the disturbances which the interrupt has come from. Okay, now jump to the other task. Okay, return to the current instruction after finishing the interrupt program request. Okay, right. Now I am doing my regular operation, interrupt has come, I will stop my regular operation, then I will attend to the interrupt request and complete that interrupt request. Okay, and then after completing the interrupt request, then I will come back to my main work and carry out the instruction from where I have left out. Okay, it is like as I am doing my work, okay, some disturbance has come, so I need to attend to it, and then I am going to attend to that. Okay, now the next question is, now what are all the interrupts which I need to attend? Okay, so is it mandatory that microprocessor has to attend to all the interrupt immediately? Is the question. Definitely not. Okay, the interrupts, as I said, okay, the 8085 microprocessor, it facilitates the interrupt service by providing 5 sets of dedicated interrupt lines. That means 5 lines are going to be present. Okay, right. So 5 lines are going to be present. Okay, now through those 5 lines, the interrupt request might come. Okay, that is what trap, RST 7.5, 6.5, RST 5.5, and INTR. Okay, right. So means through these pins, the signal is going to come. Okay, now depending upon the severity of the or depending upon the importance of the interrupt, okay, depending upon the importance of the interrupt, the microprocessor will attend to it. Okay, right. So now whatever I have shown is from the order of importance. Okay, means trap is most important interrupt, next followed by 7.5, 6.5, 5.5, and INTR. Okay, right. Now when I am going to get a trap as the interrupt, okay, now microprocessor understands that I am getting an interrupt which is most important for me to attend. Okay, right. Then if I am going to get RST 5.5, okay, please remember, if I am going to get RST 5.5, microprocessor will understand it's okay, it is not so much important for me, let me complete my regular operation, then let me pay attention to RST 5.5. Okay, RST 5.5 is not that much bothering to me. Okay, so I will not give most attention to it. Okay, but rather trap is the one, okay, so which is mostly required, okay, mostly to be attended. So I will immediately shut down my regular work and I will attend to the trap. Okay, right. Now this is the external devices. Which are the external devices? Such as the sensors, ABRD converter, okay, which are going to be interfaced with the microprocessor. Okay, these are the external devices which are going to be there. So some data from this external devices needs to be transferred. Okay, some data from these external devices needs to be transferred. Okay, in that case, okay, so in that case, the interrupt signal is going to come into picture. Okay, now just last line, the external devices sends interrupt signal to the microprocessor when it needs to establish a dynamic link for data transaction. Okay, now just observe. Okay, now this is how it is going to happen. Okay, right. Now we have the microprocessor. Now these are all the pins that I have told. Okay, so interrupt pin 1, 2, 3, 4. There is one more. Okay, interrupt pin 5. Okay, so these are the 5 pins which are going to be present to the into the microprocessor. Okay, so now what is ABRD converter? ABRD converter is an external device. Okay, so I want to send, or I want the attention of the microprocessor. Then what this fellow does is, this fellow through one of the line it sends the signal. Okay, through one of the line out of the 5, depending upon the importance, it sends the information through one of the line. Okay, now when the information from any of the interrupt line comes into the picture, microprocessor will get alert. Okay, that somebody wants your communication. Okay, simple. Okay, I'm just trying to tell in a simplest way. Okay, so microprocessor will be notified or will be alerted saying that somebody is disturbing, some communication needs to be established with you. Okay, are you ready? Okay, so microprocessor will see which is the interrupt. Okay, whether it is a topmost priority interrupt, or is it a low priority interrupt? Okay, if it is low priority interrupt, no, it will not going to pay attention to, so it does this operation, then it comes back. Okay, so if you assume if it is a top priority interrupt, then what it does, okay, it feels that rather than doing my regular work, okay, that time that has to be given most preference. Then it gives the acknowledgement. Remember, please understand here, it gives, the microprocessor will send an acknowledgement, that is interrupt acknowledgement. Okay, please understand that any external device can request the microprocessor for the communication. Okay, but it is the microprocessor which should open up for the communication by sending interrupt acknowledgement. Okay, if the microprocessor sends the interrupt acknowledgement, then only you can able to establish the communication between external device and microprocessor. Okay, without this, remember, without the interrupt acknowledgement, it is not possible to establish the communication between the ABRD converter and the microprocessor. Okay, so that is very, very important. Okay, so this is a very important concept which comes in the interrupt. Okay, and this is going to be one of the question for your the case study or the innovative question. Okay, so it's going to be like this. Now, during the processing of the microprocessor, so some external device wants to establish the communication. I will not ask like, okay, I will not ask like what are interrupts. Briefly explain the function of an interrupt. Okay, you will coolly write all that. Okay, so rather than that, I will put the question like this. Okay, the situation is like that interrupt is doing its regular operation. During its regular operation, some external person or some external device, okay, wants to have a communication, wants to establish a communication with the microprocessor. So what is the possibility of the communication, how the communication is going to happen? Explain clearly. Okay, so then you are going to write all these issues. Okay, right. Now this is about what is called as an interrupt. So before I end, so interrupt is what? Interrupt is a process of data transfer whereby external device wants the attention of a microprocessor, okay, for sending or for communication between the processor and the external device. Okay, so this can happen. So the process which is going to happen is the microprocessor will suspend the main operation. It attends to the sub operation, that is interrupt operation, completes the interrupt operation, then return back to the current instruction and finish executing the current instruction. Okay, now there are 5 different interrupt lines are going to be there, and this is how the interrupts are going to be established and communication is going to happen. Okay, right. So these are this is with respect to what is called as the interrupts. Okay, right. Now thing will take up this in another 5-10 minutes. Okay, so we'll have next one called as the bus. Okay, right. So as like the word indicate, the bus is nothing but something which is taking, okay, something which is a interconnecting device. Okay, from somewhere to somewhere you are moving. Okay, so the computers are moving from somewhere to somewhere. Like that, in the microprocessor also, information is going to move, data is going to move. Okay, instruction is going to move. Okay, now those are going to be transferred through the buses. Okay, right. Now a bus is a transmitting media. Simple. A bus is a transmitting media interconnecting the 3 types of devices. Okay, so remember, in the very first class that we have discussed, we are told 3 different devices are going to be present. Okay, so which are going to be called as the CPU, memory device, and input output devices. Okay, right. Okay, right. Now in order in between the CPU, memory, and IO devices, if I want to transfer the information, this information is going to be transmitted through what are called as a bus. Okay, right. So now buses may be bidirectional or buses may be unidirectional. Okay, so it's a one-way traffic or two-way traffic, something like that, as simple as that. Okay, right. So bidirectional buses transfer the data in both the direction. That means it sends the data to a particular location, and from this location also, okay, if there is a memory location, I can send the data here, and from here I can retrieve the data also. Okay, so that is a bidirectional. Okay, In unidirectional, I can only send the data. Okay, that is nothing but generally the address. Okay, address is only unidirectional. Data is going to be bidirectional. As simple as that. Okay, right. Now, the three different types of buses or the forms of buses are going to be data bus, depending upon what you are transferring. Okay, data bus, address bus, and control bus. Okay, right. So we shall discuss now. This is the configuration of bus in a microprocessor. Okay, right. So as I said, the buses are going to be used to interconnect the CPU. The CPU is nothing but your the microprocessor itself. Then IO devices, that is input output devices. Then I have a memory, that is random access memory and read-only memory. Okay, so the communication through this, the communication through all this is going to happen through the buses like the data, address, and control bus. Okay, it's a simple diagrammatical configuration. Okay, right. Now we'll go with understanding this. So first one is a data bus. Okay, so data bus carries what? Okay, data bus carries data associated with the processing functions of the CPU. Okay, right. Now remember, data is nothing but the operand. Okay, if you remember, the data is nothing but the operand. Okay, operand is nothing but the data upon which the microprocessor processes the instruction. Okay, so as I said, so add, okay, AB. Okay, so AB is called as the data. Okay, then you have what is called as sub. Okay, sub X and Y. Okay, so these two are called as the data. These two are called as the data. Okay, right. Now it carries the data associated with the processing functions of the CPU. Okay, it is used to transfer a word to or from the CPU and the memory or the input devices. Means the data has to be transferred to the CPU, or the data can be extracted from the CPU, or the data can be put to the memory or can be extracted from the memory. Okay, right. Now the data is going to be, obviously it should be a to and fro method. Okay, it should be a bidirectional. Okay, right. Now the data bus is a group of 8 lines, okay, used for the data flow. Okay, so it is what is called as data lines are going to be generally D0 to D7. Okay, so D0 to D7, these are the number of lines which are going to be present. Okay, so 8 lines are going to be there. Okay, that is and these lines are bidirectional. That means data flows in both the direction from the CPU and the peripheral devices. Okay, so data can be entered, data can be retrieved. Okay, so now how many positions that you can able to handle, how many locations is 2 power 8, so totally 256 locations. Okay, you can able to handle. Okay, so that is what is called as the case of a data bus. But on the contrary, we have what is called as the address bus, is the one which carries the address. Okay, address is the unique number. Address is the unique number. Okay, so in 8-bit microprocessor, that is in 8085 microprocessor, so we will be having 16 lines. Okay, so that is called as AD0. Okay, to what is called as AD15. Okay, AD0 to AD15 is what is the number of address lines which are going to be present. Okay, and the address bus is unidirectional. Bit flows in one direction. Okay, the address bus is unidirectional, bit flows in one direction. Okay, now when a particular address is selected, only that location is open to the communication. Okay, now if I'll come back to this. Okay, now as I said, there are 16 lines are going to be there, 16 number of address lines are there. Therefore the total number of locations that you can able to handle, that you can able to reach is 65,536. That is 64K is the number of locations that you can able to handle. Okay, now when you have so many number of locations, okay, that means right from 1 2 3 4 up to what is called as 64K at the last one. Okay, so this is the first one. Okay, up to 64K. Now the question is, can I have a communication like this? Okay, same communication at the same time at all for more number of locations. Okay, so this is not possible. Okay, so communication from the bus, okay, from the address bus is not possible with various number of memory locations. Okay, so because here there is only one address bus, only one address is going to pass us through. Okay, so this address, okay, let us say 0101 something. Okay, I'll just simply write, okay, 0101. Now 0101 is somewhere associated with one particular location. Okay, right. So at a particular instant of time, the communication can occur with only one particular location. That is what is that I was said here. When a particular address is selected, only that location is open to communication. Okay, only that location is open to communication. Thus, CPU is just able to communicate with just one location at a time. Okay, only one location can be communicated. Okay, after that, one more like that. Okay, so this is about what is called the address bus. Okay, last one, we'll take this and we'll finish. Now, the control bus, the signal relating to the control actions are carried by the control bus. Mainly, the control bus is nothing but what? The control bus is the one which is going to be mainly used for what? Mainly used to establish the processing. Okay, that is control and timing and control unit. That is sequence of operation is going to be done by using control bus. Okay, right? Now, during the controlling, so two operations that you are going to use. Okay, that is read operation and write operation. Okay, right? So it is generally, the control bus is generally used to inform to the microprocessor whether to read data from the device or to write data to an output device. That means read data from a device is called as what is called as the fetch cycle. Okay, so you are reading the data from a device. It is called as a fetch cycle. Okay, right? The other one is called as what is called as write data to an output device. Okay, so this is called as the write cycle. Okay, so these are the two different possibility of your control bus. It is fetch cycle and write cycle. For that, the two cycles are going to be there: read cycle or fetch cycle or the write cycle. Okay, so this is nothing but the control bus is a bidirectional. Okay, so these are the three different types of the buses which are going to be present in case of the microprocessor. Okay, right? So just last 2 minutes. Okay, we'll just okay, now today what we have started is with respect to the address. Okay, what do you mean by an address? We understood. Then what the arithmetic logic unit does. Then there is something called as an assembler, which converts the user written program into machine level language. Then we have discussed about what is called as a data. Okay, so data is nothing but the information which is to be processed, and we have instruction and also the data. The microprocessor understands the first one as the instruction, followed by the data. Okay, then we have opcode, operand, and mnemonics. Okay, so the data upon which the instruction is going to be operated is called as the operand. Okay, right? Mnemonics is the English-like statement. Opcode is the hexadecimal or the binary equivalent of the mnemonics is called as the opcode. Okay, then we understood how the fetch cycle and the write cycle is going to work, and then we understood how the interrupts are going to be handled. Okay, in the microprocessor. Okay, right? And then okay, then about the different types of the buses, that is control bus, the address bus, data bus, and the control bus. Okay, data bus and control bus are bidirectional, and address bus is going to be the unidirectional. Okay, right? So we'll just stop at this stage, and then we'll come back in the next class. Okay, right? So now I'll request all of you. Okay. Okay, so kindly give your attendance. Abdul Khalik Pasha.
Present, sir. Yes, sir.
Anil Kumar Wester. Anil.
Present, sir.
Ankesh Haman. Ankesh. Basuraj. Basuraj.
Yes, sir.
Chandan KM.
Yes.
Okay, Basuraj. Chandan.
Present, sir.
Chandan. Okay.
Present, sir.
Chetan.
Present, sir.
Dheeraj.
Present, sir.
Himanka. Murali Kishan. Kunal Raj.
Present, sir.
Dhanush,
Present, sir.
Junaid, okay. Sri Prasad,
Yes, sir.
Niharika,
Yes, sir.
Nihar Venkat Sai,
Yes, sir.
Dilesh,
Present, sir.
Nirav,
Yes, sir.
Rajwal R. Patil, Prince Stronger, Rishabh,
Present, sir.
Rohan Kagalkar, Roshan,
Present, sir. Present, sir.
Sagar,
Present, sir.
Charnaya Iramat,
Yes, sir.
okay. Sheikh Manan,
Yes, sir.
Sheikh Manan, okay. Shobit,
Present, sir.
Siddharth Shankar,
Present, sir.
Siddharth Sridhar,
Yes, sir.
Subramania,
Present, sir.
yeah. Sumuk,
Yes, sir.
Ullas,
Present, sir.
Vivian,
Present, sir.
Pavan,
Present, sir.
Shivakrishna, Ranveer Singh, Dhanush, Gautam
Present,
Sai,
sir.
okay. Gautam Sai, Chanakya, Kapala Chanakya is not attending the classes regularly. Simika,
Present, sir.
Pavan, yeah. Okay. So thank you all.
Sir,
See you in next class. Yeah, Sheikh Manan. Okay. Where you are there? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. You can do the class.